Carbon monoxide, or CO, is an odourless, colourless gas. The amount of CO in smoke is greatest with partial combustion of materials, such as coal, peat, large mulch piles, or landfill fires. Exposure to CO can cause illness and, in some cases, death. The most common symptoms of CO exposure include headache, dizziness, weakness, nausea, vomiting, chest pain, and confusion. Everyone is vulnerable to CO exposure. How people are affected depends on the amount of CO they are exposed to, as well as their individual vulnerabilities. Those most vulnerable to CO exposure include pregnant women due to potential harm to their unborn child from lower levels of oxygen, people with anemia, people who have cardiovascular or heart conditions, especially angina, people who have breathing disorders or lung disease, smokers, as they may have high levels of CO already in their blood. People on some types of medications may also be affected. Agencies selecting crews for fire response need to make sure that crew members are assessed for any of these pre-existing conditions or situations. Individuals also need to let agencies know if they have any of these pre-existing conditions. The industry operator or the first responder on scene needs to evaluate the potential for CO emissions and initiate monitoring for responder safety. The first responder agency then assesses whether CO levels represent health and safety risks to responders and their potential impacts on community. If it does, the following should be activated. Industry technical staff, hazmat specialists and fire service scientific officers. Monitoring should continue until fires are controlled. Responders need to take the following precautions against exposure. If the CO is 30 parts per million, then it is safe to work without a self-contained breathing apparatus for up to 8 hours. If the CO is 60 parts per million, it is safe for 1 hour, but you should review tasks required, reduce your workload and breathing rate, look for safe places. And if the task is likely to exceed 1 hour, then use a self-contained breathing apparatus. At 100 parts per million, it is safe for 30 minutes, but you should review the need for task, consider leaving. Wear a breathing apparatus. No levels should ever exceed 400 parts per million. Incident controllers' priorities include the protection and preservation of life, which is paramount. This includes the safety of emergency services personnel, safety of other responding agency personnel, safety of community members, including vulnerable community members and visitors located within the incident area, issuing of community information and community warnings. The incident controller has ultimate responsibility to ensure safe systems of work are in place to protect responders. The incident controller will be supported and receive advice from an incident safety officer and safety advisors and other specialist resources as required. All crew members must be checked by health monitoring personnel prior to entering the hot zone, at breaks, and post-shift when established. Personal CO atmospheric monitors will be utilised by each team in potential high exposure events. Crew leaders will ensure crews are rotated on a 2-hourly basis and undertake entry, exit and re-entry health monitoring protocols. This may change due to environmental conditions. Air quality is monitored in communities that are likely to be impacted by smoke from fires with the greatest CO producing potential. Options to protect the community from prolonged exposure to high levels of CO include advice about increased levels of CO and the need to minimise physical activity and stay aware of further alerts. Warning with instructions to take shelter indoors until conditions improve or further advice is received. Emergency warning to relocate or instruct to take shelter indoors. Evacuation. Specific instructions on where to go, how to get there and what to take are provided in the warning. For more information about the dangers of carbon monoxide and JSOPs, visit emv.vic.gov.au.